Let's talk about burnout among certain professionals, helping professionals, therapists, healthcare, educators, ministry leaders. I'm going to talk about why burnout is so high in these professions and some things that you can do to alleviate and reduce this so that you continue to live in your purpose and do the thing that God has called you to do, but do it without becoming depleted. My name is Rochelle Walsh. I am a complex trauma therapist of more than 25 years, so I know this area well, and I love talking about nervous system, mind health, brain health, and all things related to living in greater emotional freedom. The first thing is that a lot of the field of healthcare professionals, ministry leaders, tends to call in a type of person who is concerned about the welfare of others. For instance, in medicine, right, there's a big barrier to entry there, a lot of schooling required, right? In helpers, there's, not a lot of, when you think about the secondary education, and the entry level of pay that helpers get, not a lot of financial rewards. They're doing it because they are oftentimes feel called to help other people. We think about same thing with teachers and ministry leaders, that they're really in it because their heart is in the right place. And this compassion is a really good skill. I mean, where would helpers and healers be without compassion? Nurses, we know that they are very, attentive to the needs of their patients. It's kind of like their kryptonite also. So it's our superpower, this compassion, purpose-driven reason that they're in the field, but that compassion and that attentiveness to the need of others can also be a kryptonite that leads them to burnout. I'm going to talk about why and some important things to understand if you are someone in this field. So the first thing to understand is that there is a difference between compassion and needing to help others to feel a sense of worth. And sometimes people will realize that they have not only an innate ability to read a room and perceive the needs of others, but that at one point it was taken upon themselves that this was their role, to make peace, to be the helper, to make everything better, that they maybe even grew up in a home where, mom or dad was maybe some immaturity was there, lack of availability. And so they learn to be very perceptive that if I can meet the needs of others, then I won't be left. I'll be needed. I'll be, in the system. I will have a sense of belonging. This is really connected to our attachment system and our need to be a part of a tribe. I'm not saying all helpers and healers, definitely not all, but the ones who find themselves burned out and overwhelmed and depleted, a lot of times don't even realize they're so depleted until their bodies start rebelling against them and their bodies say, hey, you need to pay attention. There's some things going on. Their insides are literally coming apart because they are so attuned to the needs of others that they have a very strong, while they've developed a superpower of perceiving and meeting the needs of others and taking care of others, their kryptonite is that they are not always so attuned to what is going on within themselves. And so while they are taking care of meeting the needs of meeting the high demands of their career and other people, that they are not connected to, not taking care of, and not able to process through their own emotions. Instead, they get a sense of control and a sense of well-being by helping others. Again, on the surface looks like a really good thing, right? Someone who's, giving of themselves and self-sacrificing and working hard to be valuable to others. And yet, if they are disconnected from themselves and not able to process their own emotions, then what's going to happen is their body is going to hold the stress of that while their needs and emotions are dismissed and repressed, and they're going to become depleted, burnout, and overwhelmed. So that's one of the reasons that we see high burnout. I mean, of course, are there other things like healthcare? I was just talking with someone in administration, and she was saying they just can't keep nurses because even though they get paid well and they have good hours and good benefits, they get burned out and they leave. We know there's an exodus of teachers, right? We don't want these valuable people leaving these positions. So I think this is important information because you can be really compassionate and really good at your job. But one of the things you're going to need to learn is self-care, right? How to be attuned to your own emotions, how to set boundaries, right? And how to know when you've crossed the line between being helpful to someone and taking on the responsibility for fixing the problem of another person. So those are some important things we need to keep in mind. So self-care can be start to looking at like, how are you breathing? How are you sleeping? What are the thoughts that go on in your mind? What are you doing to balance this giving with, are you able to receive? Are you able to have fun? Are you able to let yourself relax? Or does it feel like something's almost wrong if you're relaxing? Like there's always more you should or could be doing. If so, that's a subconscious pattern that we need to work on. So I know for myself, I loved my career. I thought I did a great job, complex trauma therapist for many years of taking care of myself until some needs in my family with a sick child exceeded what I was normally used to, and then trying to maintain my practice as well as the caregiving and that sort of thing. I started to edge out things that like time with friends or downtime to myself or quiet time. I started to edge out the things that were helping me to be healthy and balanced. And I really had to take an inventory at one point and start doing things on a daily basis to bring back that parasympathetic nervous system response, that I could be present in my own experiences and taking care of that, even though I had a demanding environment. So it's always possible. It's a matter of priority, right? And I realized at that time that I would no matter how tired I was, no matter how exhausted I was, I would do things for other people. I had to really decide that I was going to take time and do those things for myself so that I could continue to be the best version of myself in all areas of my life. So self-care isn't selfish, but oftentimes with healers and people that are in service to others, it feels like something we do when we get enough time or when there aren't demands of other people. Unfortunately, that doesn't often present itself. So it's important to prioritize the care you're giving to yourself. It's important to recognize you can't fix other people, although you can be helpful. It's important to know that you need to be in touch with your internal experiences and how you're processing things, process them in a healthy way rather than distract through meeting the needs of others. So hope this is helpful. If you're new to me, I give a lot of information on nervous system health. Go ahead and subscribe, please, and click the link below if you want more content. And I also have a masterclass below if you want to understand how I help women overcome nervous system dysregulation through a neuroscience-based approach paired with principles of faith. Hope this is helpful. I'll see you in the next video.